Many South African women say they are being terrorized on the streets and in their homes. Survivors are often subjected to secondary abuse by authorities who are meant to help them. Today is the start of Women's Month in South Africa, and to mark it, thousands of women took to the streets across the nation demanding a safer country. Now that means an end to rape, domestic violence and discrimination. They're also being frustrated at the country's courts. Proceedings are often long and tedious for the victims, and very few of those cases end in successful prosecutions. For more on this, I'm joined now by Justice Minister Masutha and Detective Joyce Buthelezi with the SAPS investigative psychology unit. Very good to have you both with us. Let me start off with you. Seeing those women on the streets today and hearing some of the stories, how important is it to the situation that the country is facing?
Good evening to everyone. I'll say it is very important because to see the women taking it upon themselves to say we are tired, it is also encouraging us as SAPS that something is happening, because for them to take the action of going out is a part of awareness in a way to say, oh, okay, if something like this is happening, my rights are being violated, then what I need to do. We are so happy about this initiative.
I'm sure there's lots to do to get it right and to heal the pains, but is that cathartic in a way as well, to get onto the streets, to make your voice heard?
Going to the street, I'll really encourage it, because we have seen so many, even in some instances where we saw men taking up to the street to say we want to support the women. It is a kind of a thing that you feel that at least the message is getting to each and every authority that needs to be responsible in as far as fighting the scourge of violence against women and children.
Minister, your view of today and what you saw, and did it shock you that there's such a groundswell of anger and frustration?
I was actually encouraged by it. I think it's a good thing. I think it's about time that women came out in their numbers and voiced their disenchantment with the state of affairs. Fact of the matter is, South Africa is a violent society, and we must acknowledge it in general terms, but especially gender-based violence, and we need to bring it down. Our correctional system is bursting at the seams because of overcrowding, and a lot of the offenses that we're dealing with are violent-based criminal offenses. Of course, the Parliament over the past decade and a half has come to the party by creating a minimum sentences legislation that ensures that certain serious offenses do not receive light sentences, and gender-based violence is one of the areas which Parliament has been responsive to.
Good. Tell me something, does the overcrowding play into how people are treated when they get involved in this sort of violence? It's like, well, you know, the jails are too full, so we might just overlook this one. Does that ever come into play?
Oh, certainly not. Our attitude is we have no choice but to accommodate all our inmates when they are referred to us by the criminal justice system. What we are doing to alleviate the overcrowding is, amongst others, to ramp up restorative justice initiatives such as diversion with regard to minor offenses, but certainly not when it comes to violent offenses. That would then create space within the criminal justice system to deal with the real serious issues of crime.
Okay, I just want to punctuate this with a soundbite we got of somebody about, you know, how prevalent it is in the country. If we can just listen in quickly.
3 women every day in South Africa are victims of gender-based violence, and at the hands of people that love them.
3 victims a day. I mean, that's extraordinary. That's probably only the sort of violence that we would hear about, right? So we can assume that it's a whole lot more.
It's hard to really say our stats can be 100% right, because us as the police officers and the SAPS at large, we deal with the stats of what is brought to us, meaning of the cases that are being opened. Yet hearing something like this, it shocks, because looking at our stats that we are having, we are not sure if it is corroborating with what we are hearing, because we can only account on what is brought to us, being the victims walking into our police stations for the case to be opened.
And I know you deal with a lot of victims. I mean, what sort of courage does it take to walk in there?
You know, ma'am, I can say to you, the only way and the only easiest way to deal with the victim is to understand first what the victim has been through. Then ask yourself, if it was me, if it was my daughter, if it was my aunt, how I was going to be like that case to be sorted out. Then everything becomes easy. You open that door for a victim to say, you know what, it was not your fault. Let's walk this walk together, from reporting to investigation, to conviction, and to the sentencing of our accused person.
Okay, we're going to talk about this more, but I mean, callers are welcome to get in touch with us or to send us tweets if you want to ask either of my guests a question about this, a problem that affects so many people. And you talked about police stations there. Yes. I mean, one of the problems that many victims face is the attitude when they go to police stations. Often they're humiliated, not taken seriously. I mean, that obviously compounds the grief. How do you get rid of something like that?
Well, over and above the training programs and other interventions to improve the quality of service at police stations, which I think the police are best placed to talk about, as Justice, over the past few years, since 2013, we initiated a project to roll out special sexual offences courts targeting areas where there is prevalence based on statistics, as well as rolled out to Tuzela centers, which are one-stop centers that provide a holistic support and service to victims. A victim-centric approach is at the center of the way in which the special sexual offences courts operate. And we went further to locate most of this Tuzela centers at hospitals as opposed to police stations, because we believe that they are a better environment given the general perception of a hospital environment. But if you get to a hospital that has a Tuzela center, you will find a police officer there, usually a female police officer. You will get a social worker. You will get a doctor. And the idea is firstly to ensure, and we want to encourage victims of rape, that the 72-hour window is absolutely critical. It's critical, first of all, because we have passed a law that says you are entitled to get prophylactic treatment, which only operates if you come in within the 72-hour window period.
Okay,
but secondly,
sorry, Karen.
The evidence, the swipes that need to be taken as forensic evidence also can only apply within the 72-hour window. So we really encourage victims of rape in particular to make sure that they do not miss that window, because it's absolutely critical.
Okay, so as hard as it is to get to that point, I mean, this is really important to know. I should imagine it helps your police work a lot in order to get that sort of information.
Exactly. It's only 72 hours, as we are saying, and I want to make it clear to our ladies out there that even if you don't want to open a case, because there's this tendency that because I don't want to open a case, I cannot come forward. It's not only about the evidence that needs to be collected, it's also about so many sicknesses that can be prevented within this period of 72 hours, because the treatment is not only going to the doctor, it's not only about us chasing after the evidence that is going to be retrieved from you, also for your health. There are so many things that you can be protected from by simple, because we look at the situations where in our own now police awarenesses, when we talk to the members of the community, why is it necessary? Because you get those questions. I can go to my doctor, I can go to the clinic when I feel like. Why 72 hours is so important. Even if you don't want to open a case, please do yourself and us a favor. Go there, because the treatment is not only about the evidence that we need, it's also about taking care of your health.
All right, that's good to hear. Now we're going to talk about this more after the break. And remember, do get in touch with us. And you can ask my guests any questions about this topic, and we'll get them to answer. So see you after the break.